Alright, hello, welcome. My name is Bjorn. Thank you for joining me. We're gonna go ahead and start looking at the Templar, my homebrew class for D&D5e. And today we're gonna be looking more at the lore and the reasoning, my rationale behind why I felt that this character could fit mostly within my own campaign, but how I also feel like it may be able to help fit in other people's campaign. So, the first thing that I'm going to address is that clearly there are clerics and paladins within the world, and they still exist within my own world. That's for sure. But the main reason why I made this was primarily because I feel like the paladins and clerics, at least within my own gaming world, they're pretty rare and special individuals. They're highly selective. They're selectively chosen by their deity, and I didn't like the idea of filling up my religious orders full of these paladins and clerics. Granted, you can fill them up with barbarians, fighters, bards, any number of people. But I didn't like the idea of having, like, any other class. While it's still a thing, I'm still involving barbarians, bards, etc. within these orders. I like the idea there's a group of people that are they've dedicated themselves so fully to the worship of their deity to run these orders and be part of it and be a pivotal part of it and keep track of it. While I will probably in major cities have dozens of clerics or paladins and all that, but I felt like there's a middle ground, essentially, is what I'm trying to get at. That was missing. And I felt like this really addressed it. And instead of me just writing it into the world that there's Templars, I decided to go ahead and make it into an entire class so that the players at my table can go ahead and play it if they think it's cool, if it's something that they think they'd like to do. And with the archetypes that are here, I feel like that's going to offer a lot. The archetypes that are here, I believe I have 6 at the moment. If you've watched this up to this point, congratulations, you know that there's a hidden archetype. Not that very hard to point out, but you'll be able to find it pretty easily. So the archetypes that I have currently, it starts with the Apostle, Crusader, Lore Keeper. How did I forget this? We're not blanking at all or looking at the table of contents. Okay, yeah, so we have the Apostle, Crusader, Lore Keeper, Inquisitor, and the Warden. All of these, including the Hidden Sixth, I feel fit well into the world, and you can expand upon your religious orders with quite well. Apostle is very straightforward. It focuses very much on healing. In essence, it's the healer of the archetypes. It's a straight up healer. It's the simplest of the classes here. I made it in case somebody new in my game I bring to my table happens to see that I made this homebrew and they're looking to play an interesting, easy to play healer. There they have it. You'll be able to see that in further videos. Crusader, it focuses more along the lines of a fighter, barbarian, paladin even type playstyle. It's a builder and a spender type playstyle where you're going to be expending certain abilities that you have and go forth from there. The Lore Keeper, very much akin to a bard. The idea with that is that throughout our own history, I look a lot towards our own history, is that churches, they keep records of fucking everything. I can't remember all the select. I'm not very religious at all, but I was definitely brought up in that, and there's pieces that I remember, but I do remember seeing their records. But yeah, Lore Keeper focuses on keeping track of history. How can we benefit our deity? How can we benefit, like, knowledge? Knowledge is important. Helps you deal with situations, and having a dedicated Lore Keeper there helps. They focus very much on aiding the group in not just healing, but also utility, and they also inspire. So again, akin to a bard. The Inquisitor is the Inquisitor isn't really quite like any of the other classes in the game. It's purely based off on striking fear into your enemies and hindering them in some way, and doing a lot of damage to them as you progressively gain levels with them. I really like the Inquisitor build. I'd really like to be able to play that in a future game if I'm not DMing, but hey. And then the Warden got out of hand. The Warden really got out of hand. It's a bit much. It's easy to follow once you understand it, but it's a bit much compared to the other classes, archetypes. But anyways, I felt like all of these here and the sixth hidden one will fit into anyone's campaign in any way, shape, or form. So I gave a couple of examples here. I followed mostly how it seemed like D&D Beyond. I'm not sure what the books present for each class. I'm assuming that they have something similar, where they're, for example here, he raises... his head raises as he comes out from a short prayer. He reaches out and places his hand on an injured companion, bringing him back from the brink, yet taking a small toll on his own well-being. So it places an individual, identifying them, giving, him, his. So this is, we don't know. This could be a human. This could be a fucking troll. But he's taking an action through one of his class abilities, and he's affecting the world with it by saving someone's life. And it continues on with that, with different examples of how this class may be portrayed throughout the game and throughout the world. So of course, shadowy magic beings could blot out the light. The half-elf raises both of her hands and extinguishes the creeping darkness as a bright light pierces throughout the room, revealing to her and her companions the drow ambush party descending upon them. So again, another that's more of a specific archetype feature that's being presented there. And then, obviously, this third one here, Whip cracks the air as a human female pulls it back to strike at her captive yet again for not revealing what answer she was seeking. A small part in the back of her mind tells her that this is wrong and not what Bahamut would want. No, he would not lead her astray as she brings down another thunderous crack yet again. So, that is the Inquisitor. I wanted to show that this, obviously... you can be unique. You can have... There's a number of gods. Quite a few number of gods that you can follow here. And each of them has their own dogma. Each of them has their own tenets. And depending on your Dungeon Master and how your Dungeon Master runs the game, it could be a pantheon of gods that all work together. That's one example. Or it could be... it could just be some lone god. So, like, the easiest example I think I can give to somebody is that Skyrim. There's the Aedra and the Daedra. The Aedra are the good gods, and the Daedra are the bad gods. But yeah, that's one pantheon example. The power purpose, actually, that's a good one to get into. The Templar's faiths are their own, whichever deity they or ideals they choose to follow. They will hold themselves to their dogma just as much, if not more, than a cleric or a paladin. However, unlike a cleric or a paladin, they do not derive their powers directly from their deities, nor have direct line to them. Instead, they devote themselves to a great deal of study and meditation in order to cast their spells. That's a good point to mention. Later on, once we get into the class features, the spellcasting works more akin to a wizard. I want this... You're going to work. You're going to work hard for your shit. You're going to earn it. And I generally, that feels better with most people. But... there'll always be people that don't want to work for their shit. But again, I didn't want them to just be another cleric or paladin. So yeah, working for it made sense. Templar spells are just about as varied as they can be. The spell list is at the end of this document here, as to suit whichever order they have devoted themselves to. However, some of their abilities they have require more. They're able to give up a small part of their vitality in order to seal their allies' wounds and cure them of several ailments. Some may even learn ways to manipulate this act to aid them in further ways as they journey throughout their zealous path. That's one of their main class features, and that main class feature will later on develop into something else depending on the archetype that you take. Alright, so the idea of them finding their own path, following their god and all that shit, it matters. And there's also, of course, as I was mentioning with the pantheons, or like solo gods or whatever, there's situations in which full order of Templars may not make sense. I mentioned it a little bit here with maintaining order. I get a little bit into the Drow Society as an example, I believe, in this one. So the way I see it with Drow Society and how it works within my campaign is that Drow are essentially, assuming they're following Loth and they're in the Underdark, they are warring with each other. It's noble house versus noble house. There's a cleric at the head of that noble house, and then there's maybe some lesser clerics beneath her. Maybe two, it's her daughters or something like that. I can't remember the full the full extent of the Drow society at the moment, but I'll have to check my notes later. But they're always warring with each other, and that's pretty much the reason why they haven't taken over the surface world, is because they can't. Their god is literally a right bitch. Really, I don't know how else to put it. Loth is crazy and insane and evil, and yeah, it's whoever's the strongest is worthy of worshiping me and of living. Like, the Drow have it rough, to say it the least. But in that society, I think the Templars could still exist, because in that place, I may the Inquisitor, for example, maybe the priestess of the noble house sees it as an opportunity for to root out and seek out corruption within her own house, and or possibly to infiltrate another house, or to go out seek information. I mean, that's kind of what the Inquisitor's good at, is getting information out of people and also killing people. So I could see that being a good reason for a Drow society to have a Templar. Maybe there could be a Crusader or an Apostle, maybe here or there, but I don't see there being an overarching, order of people that have come together in worship of this one god. Surface world orders like Bahamut, there could be one massive order that stretches across the entire world, and then there's like pocket groups of them at like different temples here and there. They each operate within their own particular region. They each deal with their own shit when they need to come together because they're going to war with the evil forces or whatever. They're going up against Tiamat. Then they can all pull together and pool their resources and deal with that. And that's kind of the whole thing that I was having a problem with the writing again, is that, like, I didn't like the idea of having hundreds and thousands of clerics and paladins, like, just in general. I don't mind having hundreds of clerics and paladins if it's a massive religious war, like blood war kind of level shit, and that made sense to me. And I don't mind filling it up with a whole bunch of fighters and barbarians, because I believe those people can be far more common, because they don't have a fucking god looking at them, smiling and blowing magic up their ass to let them go do shit. So, it makes more sense that there can be more of those, but I also wanted people that would be just fully devoted to this, and that these orders, I think that they would have more than just clerics and paladins. It doesn't make sense. Why would you just rely upon waiting for somebody to be born that's selected by the god? Anyways, I could ramble on all day about it, but there's a middle ground. I wanted to fill it. It's simple as that. And the Templars, they're kind of like the curators, the custodians of the order, while maybe like the paladin or the cleric, they're maybe in smaller temples. You could go years or a decade without seeing a cleric in like a small backwater town, and in that case, the Templar could be in place there. There could be an apostle or a crusader, somebody that is the leader of that faith for civilians. And then the leader of the faith for the Templars is the cleric and the paladin, because they can talk to their fucking god. Yeah, it adds to more of a chain of command. It doesn't take away from the Templars being badass. Templars are pretty badass. I think I've successfully made them badass, and balanced badass. And yeah, I wanted them to, again, emphasize how important clerics and paladins are. I wanted to emphasize how important religion is to Dungeons & Dragons, even our own world. Mostly with Dungeons & Dragons, though, because in D&D, if you don't believe in the gods, unless, like, your DM specifies there are no gods, like, you're an idiot. Like, there's proof of the fucking gods. There's clerics and paladins doing all sorts of crazy shit in the world. And there's lots and lots and lots of proof. Unless you grew up in a fucking bunker in D&D, and then I could see you playing an atheist, but no. It's just something laughable, but yeah, this I hope helps dungeon masters fill out a role maybe they were looking to, or maybe yourself as a player, to go ahead and play something different, play something that, like, you could still have all the faith and passion for your deity that a cleric or a paladin would have, but there's more of a sense of the unknown, where there could be corruption, where there could be, Like, the one idea I had with the Inquisitor is that, like the Inquisitor with the Bahamut reference here, this Inquisitor is being within my head how I would have a lawfully good Templar or individual fall into darkness would be that maybe an archdevil has been corrupting them. They've been sending messages and pretending to be their deity and telling them to do these things. And that's one way that could be a lawful good Inquisitor at some point, and that they fall to darkness, and then that's a redemption story that player can have, or they accept the darkness and they start following that archdevil because there could be any number of reasons. Oh, they kind of lost their mind a little bit, and they agree with the archdevil that, torturing these people is right because they're sinners, or some shit like that. It could be any number of things. So I hope this helps people. I hope you enjoy the videos that are about to come. Sorry, I hope this one wasn't too long. It was me just kind of rambling on in glee a little bit, and also getting a little bit annoyed with certain things, but yeah, whatever. Have a good one. Thank you for watching. I hope you like all the other videos, and check out the Discord. It'll be there. I think it's called Homebrew-creations. Easy to find. Have a good one. Again, have a good one. Bye.